If you want to see how the 30 Years' War looked like, just look at Haiti today. Chaos, wanton killing and rape, foreign interventions. Once the jewel in the French colonial crown, it has descended into a modern dystopian hellhole. Haiti has had a rich and turbulent history. Is it doomed to repeat it? So, life in Haiti is nasty, brutish and short. It's a tragedy, but also a lesson. Join me, Jan Darasz, for how we got here.
Violence and lawlessness have reached terrifying levels in Haiti. So far this year, 1,500 people have been killed and another 800 injured as a result of gang violence. Racked for decades by poverty, natural disasters, political instability and gang violence, Haiti has had no president since the assassination of Jovenel Moise in 2021, and it has no sitting parliament.
There has been a shocking rise in killings and kidnappings. Sexual violence, particularly targeting women and young girls, is pervasive and very likely to have reached levels not seen before. The scale of human rights abuses is unprecedented in modern Haitian history.
The Caribbean country of 11 million shares a border with the Dominican Republic, a frequent tourist destination for many. Chronic instability, dictatorships and natural disasters in recent decades have left Haiti as the poorest nation in the Americas. Haiti was thrown into the crisis at the start of March as gangs called for the resignation of Prime Minister Henry and his government. For the first time, according to security sources, rival gangs and coalitions began to wreak coordinated havoc, sharing territory for tactical advances.
If Ariel Henry doesn't step down, if the international community continues to support Ariel Henry, they will lead us directly into a civil war that will end in genocide. The international community, especially the United States, Canada, France, will be responsible.
The self-proclaimed Prime Minister Henry, who remains in exile, said he would resign once the transitional council, which would name a new prime minister, had been established.
After the Council of Ministers, it's been agreed to set up a presidential transitional council. Once chosen, the council will govern over different sectors of national life.
However, its formation has been mirrored in disagreement among political parties and other stakeholders since. All the while, the spiral of gang violence only gets worse.
Well, I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, Bartłomiej Znojek, an analyst at the Polish Institute of International Affairs. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. When we're talking about Haiti, I've been rereading Thomas Hobbes's Leviathan, and my thoughts drift over to the chaos in the country. Life seems to be nasty, brutish and short, especially for the civilian population. Can you outline how the country descended into the chaos that it's experiencing today? Is this a recent phenomenon? Is it a swift phenomenon? How do you describe it?
I would say it's very difficult to find the words to describe the situation. It's catastrophic. If you look at the pictures, videos from the streets in Haiti, it's catastrophic. There's a recent report by UN Commissioner for Human Rights, which brings even more dire picture of the situation of like individual Haitians. What we see is basically more than a month of offensive of armed groups that started to storm public institutions, police, airports, homes, forcing people, tens of thousands of people to flee. But this is another phase of a long-term crisis, long-term instability, political instability, instability related to the violence, to the rise of armed groups, including gangs, and to turbulent history related to how this country was developing. This is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And also a country which is very vulnerable to natural catastrophes. And if we consider how weak is the economy of this country, any such phenomenon like earthquakes, they bring a long-term consequences that are difficult to overcome And as we see now, we still see consequences of a big earthquake from 2010. So I would say that the situation is so bad, so dire, that we only see now an attempt of international community to help Haiti in overcoming the crisis, despite a lot of alarming calls from Haiti diaspora. And it's really difficult to say if it can bring Haiti back to some stability, some security.
Yes, I mean, we hear reports of voices, as you say, within the diaspora or within the fighting groups themselves who wish a Haitian native solution to the problem. Others want foreign intervention. What's been the history of foreign intervention? I mean, is the international community just frightened of moving into this hellhole?
The history of international interventions impacts very significantly the proposed solutions to Haiti. Many countries, basically United States, don't want to intervene military because of its historical bad experience with that. Last attempt of multinational intervention was MINUSTAH mission, UN mission, from 2004-2017, with military components led by Brazil. This brought some stability to Haiti, but a lot of people remember sexual abuse, the lack of idea how to contain the violence, cholera outbreaks, and also some different experience with that mission that for many people it's not the best solution that they expect.
When we talk about stability in the Haitian context, presumably we mean just people not roaming the streets, killing, wanton killing. We mean the infrastructure. We don't mean surely imposing democracy on a country as chaotic as...
I would start that instability basically relates to the political situation. In 2021, in July, President Jovenel Moise was killed, and from that time we can see a constant problem with political stability. Ariel Henry, who took over as prime minister but without approval by the parliament, quickly became unpopular. Especially because he was delaying elections. The last elections took place in 2016. The other problem is the armed group and gang violence. These groups rose in force for these years. Basically, one of the reasons is lack of prospects. So young Haitians don't see any prospects outside of these groups, and the other, support from politicians, because for some of them, supporting or using those groups to fight with political rivals was one of the solutions. So now we have a multi-layer crisis of political instability, violence. Let's say more than 80% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, is controlled by the gangs. We have people escaping. The numbers say about almost 400,000 people displaced because they were forced to flee their homes. So the situation is so difficult that even the solutions that are now in place are not so likely to bring that stability.
If we go back into history, you mentioned that Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. It used to be the richest, didn't it, with its sugar producing revenues, French colony, 18th century. Can you give us a kind of brief outline of its road from that time? A very brutal war against French rule, then Napoleon reinstalled slavery. Can you just give us an outline of what Haiti was like from the late 18th century through the 19th?
Haiti used to be one of the richest colonies that France had, but also Haiti is known as one of the first countries to gain independence, and independence gained by slaves. But because of that, they struggled to get recognition from international community as a sovereign country.
Especially the United States.
Yes, and also there is a history of huge debt France required from Haiti as a kind of lost gains. So Haiti, from the very beginning of its existence as a sovereign state, struggled economically, politically, and then political instability related to interventions, to the dictatorships, and then to the very constant changes of the governments, of the rise of that violence that was bringing the cap d'etat to that country. So one of the problems that was seen in the Haiti that it was struggling to get stability or some kind of stability without foreign help, and this problem comes back to this time.
And what about the impact of the Duvalier regime that was in the 20th century?
There is now when you look at the debate in the Haiti, there is a big polarization and a lot of conflicting voices how to overcome the crisis. There are people who are afraid of authoritarian rules, dictatorships. Some say gangs should be part of the solution. There's one of a rebel, very famous rebel, Guy Philippe, who in November was extradited, or was deported from United States. He spent a few years. He got a few years of prison because of drug-related accusation, and now is one of the figures that is questioning the solution proposed by the international community and Haitian groups. So that memory of those times and different ways of how we wish to influence the development of Haiti still impacts the debate on how to overcome the crisis.
Now, you mentioned the fact that the gangs are starting to move into politics. Isn't this a very brutal truth about politics in general, that it is the gangs that form states and aristocrats? And
I guess that it's
not just in Haiti, but in Europe. And
I'm not specialist in gangs. In this case, like you need to consider gangs because their influence, their pressure is really like influences the political process.
Yeah.
And now you have gangs which blocks food, which block airports, because like Haiti is cut off maritime traffic and like passenger air traffic. You can see the various countries that send their helicopters or different kind of transportations to evacuate their citizens, or troops reinforcing embassies. So,
last couple of questions. Is Haiti of any strategic importance to fight for? I mean, it was a rich colony, lots of very brutal war that was waged there. Is there anything that anybody else wants from Haiti?
I think the main concern now with Haiti is that this crisis may spill over outside. It is spilling over outside because the main concern are Haitian migrants. The data by U.S. border service shows very perfectly how this crisis is evolving. If I remember correctly, like from October last year to February this year, there was 111,000 irregular Haitian migrants on all U.S. borders. In the previous fiscal year, from October 2022 towards September 2024, it was 186,000. You have a problem with the approach of Dominicana, which is
it's a relatively stable neighbor, isn't it?
Yes, there's a stark contrast between poor Haiti and Dominicana, which is, looks differently, is thriving because of tourism. And they are clear that they don't want Haitians in Dominicana, Dominican Republic. They don't want the crisis to go there. They deport Haitians despite the situation in that country. And they are not a country that would like to be part of the solution.
Unfortunately, we have to stop there, but thanks very much, Bartłomiej Znojek, for coming into the programme.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you. So that's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us, and join us next time for How We Got Here.